In this video, I'll show you how to construct a truth table for a disjunction. I'm just going to use two letters that don't really mean anything. A will be our simple statement, and the wedge, or like a small v, will be our logical connective for the disjunction. So this says A or B. The important thing to remember with a disjunction in logic is that it is an inclusive disjunction. What this means is that an inclusive disjunction in logic means that at least one of the two statements, A or B, or both, in the disjunction must be true for the entire disjunction to be true. So it's symbolized by A wedge B, and A wedge B is true if either A, B, or both are true. So let's write down that rule. So now with our rule understood, we can start plugging in the truth values for A and B into the conjunction. So in row 1, A is true and B is true. Well, then the disjunction is going to be true because it says either one is true or both. Row 2, A is true and B is false. Well, we just need one side or one disjunct to be true. So in row 2, the whole disjunction is true. Remember, we're putting the truth value underneath the main operator, and the main operator for the disjunction is the wedge, or the small v. Row 3, A is false, B is true. Well, we've got one side is true, that's B, so it's true. For row 4, A is false and B is false. Well, this is the only time where the disjunction is false. So we're saying with the disjunction, either A is true or B is true or both. So the only time the disjunction would be false is when both disjuncts are false. So just like we did with the conjunction, let's look at some examples of more complicated looking disjunctions. Shrink this down a little bit. Here's an example of more complicated disjunction. If P then Q, so this is a disjunction. We could see that it's two statements connected by the main operator of the wedge. The left disjunction is a conditional if P then Q. The right side is a simple statement C. So this conjunction would be true anytime the left-hand side is true, the right-hand side is true, or when both are true. The only time it's false is when both sides are false. Let's do another example of a more complicated conjunction. That you should recognize as a conjunction. This is also a disjunction. The left disjunct is a conjunction. The right disjunct is a conditional. So both compound statements connected up by the or, by the wedge. That's the logical connective. So this would be true when either A and B is true, or when if P then Q is true, or when both are true. The only time it would be false underneath the main operator is when both disjuncts are false. Of course, our truth table over here is going to look a lot different because we have, again, 4 simple statements, so our truth table would be quite large, lots of rows, but the concept's the same. So it's very mechanical. Once you learn the steps, you can handle very simple disjunctions or more complicated disjunctions and determine the truth value of that. And remember, we always write the truth value underneath the main operator of the statement.